This is CB Up for Discussion, a podcast series from Community Business where we tackle DE&I and wellbeing hot topics with special guests from across Asia.
Great. Could you both introduce yourselves and tell us a little about how you got involved with Splash?
Yeah, so my name's Simon Holliday. I'm one of the co-founders along with Libby Alexander of Splash. So we ran our first Splash program in March 2015.
Great.
Hi, Emily. I'm Daisy Luscaw from the Philippines. I first heard Splash from a friend 2016, and since then I joined all the programs from Splash. So I learned to swim in Splash, and after that I joined as a volunteer. I started as a coach, and I took all the trainings from Splash, and then now I get an opportunity to join the team. I am part of the team. I'm a senior swim coach of Splash.
Great. A key campaign for us at CB this year is social mobility, and we're keen to explore it in as many facets as possible. So from both of your perspectives, what would you say the social mobility implications of taking part in Splash are for the wider community, and how are you as an organisation leveraging them?
Yeah, so I'd answer that question by just going back to a Lloyd's registry report in 2019 that looked into swimming literacy around the world. And what it found was that half the world's population can't swim, so 3.5 billion people are unable to swim. And there was a subsequent report that was drawing upon Amartya Sen's framework about swimming as a capability. And what a capability means is essentially choices that we have about how we spend our time or what careers we pursue. And social mobility is absolutely linked to capability and choices. And I think the thing that we're most proud of is giving that choice of and that access to swimming, because when you can swim, that opens up a whole raft of other possibilities, whether it be getting into a boat or a kayak or diving or future employment opportunities in terms of being a lifeguard or a swim instructor. And one of the projects that we've been developing over the last 4 or 5 years is our Splash graduate program. So graduates like Daisy who have been through our program can then train to be coaches, and that's now 25% of our coaching population are people who have been through the program and are developing those leadership skills as a result.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and also for the participants, as soon as they learn how to swim, they also learn how to teach others, and so they teach their ward or their families back home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they're taking a skill and bringing it back to their communities as well, which is really nice. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We at Community Business are key advocates for well-being, and we know the holistic impact that physical activity can have on our mental and social health. Can you tell us a little about what positive outcomes you've seen for your Splash community in terms of well-being, extending beyond physical health, if possible?
Yeah, so I wanted to share an experience that I had as a coach, which was teaching this woman who was probably in her late 50s, Filipino migrant domestic worker here in Hong Kong. And she was very, very nervous when she started. She was a tiny, tiny lady. And the first few weeks she really struggled. But then around week 6, week 7, something clicked and she was able to do things that she couldn't do before. She was able to step into deep water. She was able to float on her back. But she still struggled with kind of basic freestyle. And we have our assessments on week 12 for our adult program. And she'd obviously, she'd figured it out and managed to swim the length of a pool, 25 meters, unassisted. And when she touched the other side, the look on her face and her manners, and she was slapping the water. I mean, she was so happy with what she had achieved, and we were all really happy for her as adults, and I think as coaches. And I think we've got so many of those kind of stories, but what we've been able to do more recently is do an impact survey to see what specifically the wellbeing benefits of our program has been, and a lot of it is about self-esteem and self-improvement, but it's also about belonging and friendship. And 50% of our participants stay in touch with each other after the program. 86% of them say they're less lonely after Splash. 87% prioritize time for themselves. So there's all these residual effects that happen as a result of going through a program that is challenging, but incredibly rewarding.
Yeah, and also we start to teach parents and kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we see the parents as they learn swimming, and so with the kids, and they have this common things that they really love to do, and the connection between them is getting stronger. And I have this every time that the parents teaching on this side and the kids are learning here, and the mom is waving the child, and like the kids are so excited. It's like, I'm gonna show off to my mom, that kind of connection. And it's so happy to see that every now and then. And the mom is like, because as a mom, you're focusing into your job and to your kids. It's more likely they do that, right? Like on their daily basis. And then as they enter Splash, they build up connections from other people. They broaden their connections, their network and friends, and they have time to learn for themselves as well, and build up stronger social connections to other people.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I, as a volunteer for Splash, that's the one memory I really have, is the community. So you're right, intergenerational, whether it's other actual mother to child or just older and younger participants. It kind of, once you're in there and you've got your rash vest on, it doesn't really matter who you are at home. Everyone's a community, everyone's having fun, they're all excited, they're all there to learn. And I think, and then everyone eating together afterwards or preparing food and enjoying, oh, did you hear I brought you this thing from last week? Do you remember you talked about it? It's just like a really, it's a wholly positive experience, I think, which is kind of unusual often, isn't it? And it's
and I think on the kids, for the kids programs, it is particularly important to get the parents more involved, because we're not just looking for a change when they're learning to swim. We want lifelong swimming. We want them to be able to use swimming as a way of going to the happy place and reducing anxiety and stress and all these sorts of things. So if the kids and their parents are learning in parallel, then they've got a shared language. They talk to each other about what they're going through. So you build those bonds, and those bonds and that activity continues after the program's finished.
Yeah, they learn the chicken foot soldier.
Exactly.
Splash only have that word.
But actually, my husband and I are using that with our son now. He's 3 years old. We're trying to teach him to swim, so we've taken that with us from Hong Kong.
That's great.
I love the positive message and energy that Splash ignites in the community. That said, we know that domestic workers, as with many populations in Hong Kong, can face stigma and discrimination. Can you speak to any of the more difficult issues that your participants are facing? And have you seen any progress with tackling them, both in a wider sense as well as a direct result of the work at Splash?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we can say is the how we promote equality within our programs. And when a Splash participant starts, we have an introduction where we talk about history and what they can expect in the curriculum. And one of the key messages is that we are all equal. So what I'll say is that you might be wearing white t-shirts and I'm wearing a pink t-shirt, but the only difference between us is that I can swim, and I can teach you to swim. And you are going to be learning, but we're all on this journey together as coaches and as participants. And I don't want you to call me sir. I don't want you to call the women coaches mom. You can call us by our first names, or if you want to call us coach, you can call us coach as well. That's what often happens. But it's important that we break down those kind of barriers. And what we've found is that swimming and the experience of swimming becomes the language that we share, and socioeconomic background and all those other factors don't become an issue anymore. It's about shared interests and commonality rather than anything else.
Yeah, in my experience, actually, before I joined Splash, I am a very timid person and I don't really have so much friends. But since I joined Splash and I know the importance of swimming and I get involved more in the all the activities of Splash and all the works of Splash, I realized that this is what I really want to do. And then I built up that connection to people, that confidence to talk, to speak out for myself. And then I learned how to handle difficulties in my life, in the situations wherever I am. By the help of Splash and people around me, the positively of energy that I get there. And I learn how to face and switch my reactions to certain difficulties that I'm facing every now and then.
Yeah, which is amazing. And I think the other thing that I noticed when I was volunteering at Splash is that if you have too much of a social barrier, actually it can be unsafe, right? People need to feel comfortable saying, help, I feel I can't swim, and so that you can run and help them. And, if there's any whatever, as you walk into the pool, it doesn't create the environment to learn and help each other.
Yeah.
So I think Splash has really nailed that, because I certainly felt that. I hope that people felt comfortable coming to me, but also that I could, help people as much as possible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to. It's quite important for the coaches to be. Well, it's very important for the coaches to be assertive.
Yeah.
And clear in their instructions. And what we try to do with the curriculum is just break things down. So it's simple. We're conscious that we're often working with people who are operating in the second language, for example. So it's all in English, and that can be quite challenging. We try and use the same words when we teach as well, and we have to be. It is a potentially dangerous environment, so we have to make sure that people are aware of the safety issues, and that they're looking out for their fellow participants as well as the coaches.
Yeah. Can you share any particular success stories or milestones that you've seen over the past few years, both from an organisational standpoint as well as that of the individual participants and their achievements?
I would say successful one is my story. My story is when I started in Splash, I can't really swim that well. I cannot go further away from the shoreline. And then since I learned how to swim in Splash, I started to join swim race. I did my first swim race in Hong Kong, and it's an amazing experience because I did it with my friends that splashers as well, and we did longer distance like 1.5. Some of my friends did like 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers, and since then we start to join the rest of the races, and we get that confidence and like enjoyment doing together, and I build up more friends in that community. Yeah.
That was a pretty amazing experience being on the beach. Actually, Livy and I were like proud parents, just watching all the participants go off. And that had a really big impact actually on how people saw Splash and what these women could achieve, and these women and some men could achieve. I think from a more kind of holistic point of view, we've taught nearly 7,000 people now how to swim. That is it. Considering that 3 years of our history has been affected by COVID, that's reasonably good. Although we feel like we can do a lot more. We taught 3,000 people last year, and we feel like we could do more year on year. So I think there's a scalability thing that we've been able to achieve. The impact survey that I mentioned, just seeing the impact that we're having. So learning to swim is an output, but what are the outcomes and the impacts that we're having? And we're seeing through that survey that there are huge well-being benefits, there's huge self-esteem benefits, there's huge community benefits, and that's coming out very, very clearly from the survey. And then I think the other thing that I'm very passionate about is just the number of people that we've brought into leadership roles, both in terms of coaches, but also in terms of what we call captains, who are on deck support, because they're providing administrative support, so they're doing the registrations, but they're also supporting the swimmers through pastoral care and understanding. They see things that we don't see about how people are showing up and whether they've missed a couple of weeks, and checking in with them, seeing if they're okay. So it is sort of mental health first aid support in a way. So just seeing how these people have grown, being in our communities.
And I mean, I suppose in itself, it's providing opportunities for people to shine, right? Which they maybe wouldn't have had elsewhere. In the water, but out of the water.
And we're seeing those things in our kids programs as well. Is that we're teaching some kids who are a little bit older, sort of teenagers, who eventually are moving. We've got a few of them now who've moved into coaching roles, and hopefully that will help them with employment. You know, if they decide to do that as part of their career.
I got employed.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Classic
So,
example.
from a learner, and then I found my passion, and I did my very best to train, to develop the skills that I've learned, and now I am a full-time in Splash.
Yes, exactly.
It's amazing.
Perfect.
I never thought that I would be a leader.
But you
Never
are.
thought
But you
before.
absolutely are.
But Splash opened that to me.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, that's so wonderful to hear. And I suppose, just for the context for people listening who maybe don't know about swimming, 2 or 3 kilometers is a very long way to swim.
It is, yes, yeah. I think before I can only swim like 5, holding breath, 10, I think, 10 meters, yes. Holding breath, that's it. I was like, don't put me longer than that.
I think my max, even when I was swimming, was about 2 kilometers that I've done. So that's amazing. Splash Foundation talks about your ripple effect, and that's something that actually twins very nicely with community business, and we talk about what we try to have as a ripple effect in our community as well, through our work promoting inclusion. So what would you say is the most important ripple of change that Splash has sparked?
So I was talking before about scalability and about the number of people that we've taught, but we are really still scratching the surface. If you think that probably 70 or 80% of the migrant domestic worker population can't swim, so that's there's 400,000 migrant domestic workers in Hong Kong. There's probably a similar number of kids that are also unable to swim, and there are other beneficiary groups that we could potentially reach out to in future. So there's millions of people in Hong Kong and in Asia that are unable to swim. Now, if you accept the notion that swimming is a capability, that it's a life skill, then why is this not a public health imperative? Why are people not talking about swimming as a basic necessity? And this is a paradox in a place like Hong Kong or in Singapore or in other parts of Asia, where we are island archipelagos, we're surrounded by water. In Hong Kong, there are 722 kilometres of coastline. There is an abundance of public swimming pools, and yet 50% of the population still can't swim. It is ridiculous. And we cannot do this alone. We realize that we need the support of the community. We need the support of the government. We need the support of organisations to help us if we want to make this Hong Kong Asia's world swimming city. We can absolutely do that. There is too much focus on the elite level. This is an Olympic year. I love the Olympics like everyone else does, but there is too much focus on the elite and not enough focus on the grassroots. And if you want to ensure that we have an elite in future, we have more Siobhan Hawheys and Camille Chengs, then you have to invest in a basic level of swimming. That's the only way that you can do it. So we're really passionate about that, but we need the support of the community if we're gonna push this message any further.
for me, it's the big impact personally is the sense of belonging, getting hope, and finding your passion and take action with that, and see yourself that your goal, you reach your goal at the end. I think that's the kind of the sense that I get from Splash. I personally prove that, and yeah.
No, I think that's great. Great. Well, those are our questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much
Right.
for having
Great.
us.
No problem at all.
Thank you for listening to CB Up for Discussion. For more information about our work across Asia, head to the Community Business website.